Yeah. So, okay, sorry. Let's go to the next one. Certainty, risk, and uncertainty. That's actually an unpublished article, but I think it's a very good one. We wrote it also with Bob Mark. Now we have Dan Galai here, and I think everybody about risk should know about the book Risk Management, Krui, Galai, Mark. So this is Bob Mark, Dan Galai sitting over there. Krui is missing. Actually, I never met Michel. I have to meet him once. Okay. You know, wait, I'm jumping this one because I changed my topic. So, you know, there was a famous thesis of Frank Knight, risk, uncertainty, and profit. So there he made the differentiation. You know, risk is something like casino or throwing a dice. If you throw a dice, normally if it's a good dice, 1/6 for each number. One, and if you do it a lot of time, it evens out. So that's the thing. Uncertainty, if you don't have the rule, if you don't have a distribution. And then he says this will change the behavior of the actors in the economy. Because then they start becoming protective, so they have reactions against that. So that's basically what he says. But that has given our focus very much to risk and uncertainty. You know, and often, especially if it's a little bit humpy market, if you go in a bank and ask a banker, what is certain? Most likely you will get the answer, nothing. That is the thing. But there is a certainty. There is certainty. So what are the certain things in finance? And you know, any computer program in its inner kernel needs to have something certain. 1 and 1 is 2, or it's 0, 1. You know, without that, nothing works. You need to have something you can hold of. So what is the thing we can hold of in finance? So in finance, there are 2 things. First of all, I think the cash in your pocket, or in your wallet maybe now today, you should call certain, at least in the pocket more certain than, it can still be certain, it's now certain. You know, if you touch it and you have it in the pocket, it is certain that there's the number 10 and it's 10, that is certain. And the contract promises. A financial contract we saw is a promise to pay payments over time. The promise is certain, I have promised. The keeping is a different thing. So the breaking is possible. But the thing which we have to start off is what was promised. That's the thing which we have to nail down here. So if you look at the Actus contract model, it has in the center, it has the contract, the data and the algorithms. So that is the center. But it is surrounded by risk factors. So Actus understands risk factors, but it does not define. If you say, okay, what do you think about the interest rate? And we tell you, please do it yourself. We can tell you after, when you told us what you think, we can tell you the consequence. So we are not in the business of forecasting of anything like that here. So Actus knows the consequences of default, of interest rate change, of FX change, of all these things. So here. And once you have that, it calculates the state contingent events. It's just a reading of the contract over time. This happens, that happens, that happens. From the state contingent events, we derive the state contingent cash flows. So now we have cash flows. And the cash flows is the basis of any analysis, of anything you do in finance, basically. From where Actus derives primitive results. Primitive means all which can be directly derived from cash flows, which is nominal value, accruals, interest payment, all the cash flows, etc., etc. From where you can derive liquidity, simple income, and simple value. Just nominal on nominal term. All the rest is superimposed on top of it. So that is basically the thing. And if you look at it now from a separation perspective, we see the risk factors, they are stochastic. So they are stochastic and outside our control. Actus, however, is deterministic. Given a state of the risk factors, the thing turns into deterministic. And everything is then state contingent deterministic below. And that's a very important separation. And it's a separation which has not happened in our minds, neither in the industry nor in theory. You know, I always say the first thing you get thrown at your head in Finance 101 is a Black-Scholes formula, let's say. Maybe not true in every case, you know, but there already everything is mixed up, the risky factors and the known. Like S0, that is today's state of the stock. You can say it's observed, but then there is sigma, it's in D1, D2, fluctuation, R is a risk factor, and so on. So we get it as a mixed picture. Of course, I don't say it's wrong. Actually, it's not right, it's not wrong, whatever it is. But the approach, at the end, we have to do it as well. But it's, again, a bad starting point. It's not separating what is deterministic from what is stochastic. And this separation is very important. And a lot of things, some of these things happen here, some happen up there. You know, it's all a huge mess in that picture here. And one of the reasons why it is so, it's the way financial contracts are written. They are really written by the wrong people. I said it already, lawyers. You know, there is a Roman saying, iudex non calculat, which says the judge or the lawyers don't calculate. There's a dispute why. Some people say it's, you know, it's too low for them. But I think more true is if you are bad in math, you become a lawyer. Or let's say if you're good in math, you don't become a lawyer. Let's put it this way, maybe. So it's an exclusion criteria, really. Sorry. Okay, not exceptions. There are noble exceptions, and I know some. Sorry. I have to say so. But generally, they have an aversion against functions. A mathematical expression. Try to put everything into word. And math was invented as a unique language, as an unambiguous language. That is what it is. 1 and 1 is equal to A plus B equals things like that. But somewhere they come to numbers, things like that. 1,000, so many years, so many percent. And what they really agree on are these cash flows. That's what you agree. Even I take the picture of a farmer. You know, and I take the picture, they are not stupid, farming is quite a demanding job, but they are not interested in finance. But if the farmer sits in front of a banker and they discuss a financial contract, he quickly makes a little calculation in the head. You know, how much do I have to pay when? How much will be my harvest expected, and all that? Can I do the deal? Can't I do the deal? So we have this kind of patterns in our mind. We have a kind of intuitive knowledge about these things, at least about the normal stuff. Maybe not about an MBS or I don't know what, you know, about the normal stuff we do have. So we have that here. And what is the link between left and right? It's a mathematical function. Or a set of mathematical functions. That's basically what it is. But now we have that. So that is the reality. And so what happens now? How does it go from left to right? That's already the first chance point. Because probably there are multiple systems you could put in, because they have a lot of systems in a bank. And depending on which system, it might react a little bit different. Might be the same if you're lucky. Might be totally different. You know, like in finance, not even the sign is known, is defined. You know, is an asset positive or negative? You know, if you're a risk manager, you would think positive, I guess. We have that in mind. But accountants often say negative, because I gave something, you know, it's in high danger. Others say neutral. You know, and all that you find in here. So it's very difficult. So we have a first touching point. Does it go in this system or does it go in that system here? You know, and it's a disconnect. But the lawyer doesn't know at all. He just writes the contract and he hopes that the guy in the bank does the right thing. And there is some common understanding, and that's why it works somehow. So that is the thing which binds it together. Then the next step is, how do you transport it up? So the translation from each system to each system, that's the next step. And there definitely a lot of approximation, shortcuts, easy things and so on happen there, always. And depending who does it, you get quite different languages. And here you introduce stochastics. Here you introduce errors. So then if you get different results, where is it coming from? Do I have a different assumption about the market, or do we have an error here in the transmission here? So on a single system down here, a consistent world would be possible. Like you have a trading system, okay, there within the trading system it could work. But it doesn't work across the systems. And I tell you, BCB 239 is an illusion. It doesn't work. They talk only about results. They don't talk about the basis, how you reach these results here. So, and you get, of course, a huge reconciliation problem on top. You know, like they say, now two guys, they come up with two numbers, they go two different. Maybe the sign is different. One calls it positive, the other guy negative. But no, mostly it's slightly different. So you have a lot of questions here. And if you produce numbers like risk-adjusted return, you get some numbers from here and some numbers from there, you know, which are fully independent calculated, and you might become very strange results. You might get a very strange result. So it's a huge problem. It's everybody who is in practice knows that. So how do we get back to a clean world? That's the question. And every banker is afraid of the big bang problem. That's the thing, you know. Why? People think we have to clean up below first. And what you do, if you clean up, all spaghettis hang down, all. And you can't manage that. It's impossible. So it's a recipe for failure. There's another way how you have to do it. So now think again, we have transaction processing analytic level. We have to step out via the analytic level and via a well-defined standard, which is, of course, the Actus standard. So that's, I think, self-understood. No need to repeat here. So you can map each system into the Actus standard and then analyze it via a system which knows the Actus standard. How do we know that we have a reality? We can generate the cash flows in both systems. Below we do the calculation, maybe manual, maybe machine can do it. Up we do it after the mapping. If the cash flows are the same, then we are sure, and I think that's the only level where we can be sure, the cash flow level. Any other level, value, anything, has a lot of additional assumptions. This is the assumption least place where you can do. So there you get the cash flows because it's the cash flows of the agreement. What did we agree? So we can compare the cash flows. If they are good, then I know my model reflects the reality. So that's the first thing. And then you can do that for all systems. So that's what we did, for example, at Leomi. Same thing. So that is possible. So now you have a clean analytical world. So you have reduced from n times m to n plus m, really. Now you're, no, actually to n, to n, even to n. You reduce from, it's wrong, to n, not n plus m. So if you have 100 below and 50 above, you had 5,000, you end up with 100. Interfaces which you have to maintain. It's still a kind of data warehouse, a side data warehouse. So that's still there. But then, once in this state, these systems actually are pretty good. Even if they are still written in COBOL, you know, a saving system knows how to do savings. A bond system knows how to do bonds. It might look ugly, green screen, I don't know what, you know, a COBOL, etc., but it does the job. So that's, but there might be time you don't find a COBOL programmer anymore. So you really need now to get rid of the system. What do you do then? You already have a clear image of the contract. So the only thing which you have to do, you have now to mirror the data. And you put it into a transaction processing system in a modern one, API-based, and so on. So that will come naked with just, it knows how to process financial contracts, but it knows how to process all, or let's say, all relevant financial contracts. It knows the thing. And it's only a parameterization. What you still need a little bit are APIs. If you look into FinTech, what FinTech did, they did everything before the core banking system and everything after. Nobody touches the core. And if you have another example, please tell me. Nobody. It's like, you know, so they are totally afraid. So they do not touch the core here. And so they are very good there. You have good face recognition, KYC, all that stuff is very good. And you can use that. And then you combine it with a strong core which knows all financial contracts. And the payment system is on the right side, so all that is happening. And once you have the same comfort as on the left side, you can switch off that system and you go slowly but steady into the new world. I'm 100% sure that's the only way out. All others, spaghetti is hanging down, no chance. No chance here. Now, maybe a short one. We have another, the next one will also ours, so I take another 5 minutes of them. Allan, is it okay? No, it's your topic now coming. So how does Actus relate to DLT, smart contracts, and AI? So I think everybody is interested in that. I quote here Vitalik. He wrote it in 2018, so about a few years after the term smart contract came out. To be clear, at this point, I quite regret adopting the term smart contract. I should have called them something more boring and technical, perhaps something like persistent script or something like that. And he's right. And I happen to be part of the error. Not by intention, but as a side effect. Actually, about 2013, Charles Hoskinson came to me. Charles Hoskinson, he was the CTO of Ethereum. You know, at that time, Ethereum wasn't known yet. So he came to me. He has heard that I know a lot about smart contracts. At that time, I didn't think I did smart contracts. I didn't know the term. But I find out, yeah, Actus is really an important element for smart contracts. Okay, I explained everything. I said, look, they are programmable, they are codable, and after a while, he came back and said, oh, we have now smart contracts. Okay, and I looked at it. Then I understood they had solidity. And with solidity, you can do anything. You can create spaghetti endless. And then I made them understood that a computer program is a necessary but not sufficient condition. Because you can do all evil and stupid stuff with it. You can copy the mess, and actually the mess will be great on the blockchain because in a bank we have 150 systems, 5,000 connections. Now if everybody programs its own contract, you have millions of different contracts, which you have to understand. Millions. Impossible to understand. So it's a really recipe for disaster. It's a real recipe for disaster. And if we go now to what the smart contracts are, I go back to Szabo. So Szabo, it's a set of promises in digital form. And he said there are 4 conditions for smart contracts. One is observability. That is blockchain. So everybody can see it. Verifiability, if it comes to financial contract, the blockchain solidity does not provide that. Because you could make any nice code, and somewhere below, and on that date, you can write whatever. Nobody will find out, or very rarely people will find out. They are unreadable. And they would be, in front of a judge, they would not stand. You might have no chance to get your money back, but it would be a crime. It would be a crime. So they are not verifiable. Verifiable means it's clearly understood and understandable. And Actus provides that. Why? Because it's open source. Everybody can see it. You go, you see, and you will see it's beautifully programmed. It's really understandable. So you can follow. Of course, it takes some time. So it makes Actus brings that verifiability thing. And then Szabo says, to be enforceable, you have to have a high observability and high verifiability. So that really produces it. The privacy is another thing. Privity, he called it, is another thing. Needs to be added to the picture here. So that's why Actus plays an important role. And there are blockchains adopting it. You find a little version even on Ethereum, programmed in Solidity, but it's inefficient. You shouldn't run it on the blockchain. That's another story. I don't have time for that. Now coming to AI. If we go back to the same picture here, we have the risk factors, then we have contracts, etc. And I put the brain there. The darker is the natural brain, and the lighter is the artificial brain here. Where you should really exclude AI is in the middle. It's a mathematical function. to substitute a mathematical function with a stochastic process which uses huge powers and comes back with an approximate result, I mean, that's the level, that's the topic of stupidity. So here we really should, it's math. It's already known. You know, I calculate a contract in 3 milliseconds with maybe 20, 50 events. So I don't want to spend X kilowatts and so on to come back with a... And the contract is something precise. You don't want to be surprised. Suddenly you have to pay 1,000, you thought 100. You know, you don't want to have these things. You want to have to understand the agreement. So there it doesn't make sense. So where it can make sense, where it should, is in the forecasting of the market. I have said it so many times, AI guys, give me a good forecast. I haven't seen somebody stepping up. I think it's another area where people shy back. Economists have tried a lot and have failed a lot. But there, maybe they do a little bit better. With good information. Yeah, in the credit risk they do better because they have more information. So there it's good. I want to see them in the market risk. And of course they can help in the interpretation of the results. If you have Monte Carlo results and so on, you know, they run through the results better. They might give you better results there, better understanding. Let's put it this way. The another area in the mapping, which I just said, if you have Actus, every financial contract needs to have a digital twin for the existing one. Once you create it in Actus, there's no twin. But you need a digital twin. I think there AI can help. Because they are similar, all these different contracts, but not the same. And then Ralph's topic, agentic finance, maybe he will talk about that in the next session. So, okay, that's it. Sorry for the stepping over.